Alright, so last week I put up a video talking about beloved Stardust and how I was going to try it out on a build. This is that build. We're level 66, and this build originally went out of its way to have a ton of decks, so that we had max cast speed with Radigan's Icon. Radigan's Icon gives you 30 virtual decks towards your max cast speed, which is a lot, but the max cast speed is at 70 decks. And whether that be real decks or virtual decks that you get from, you know, Radigan's Icon gives you 30, one of the staffs gives you 40, I forget which one. But you've got, you know, all these ways you can get up to 70 decks so that you can have max cast speed. Well, the DLC introduced a talisman called Beloved Stardust. And I've talked about how it's terrible because it makes you take 30% extra damage. If you've ever wondered what 30% extra damage can look like, look at how much damage this Moonlight Sword is doing to me. It is absurd. Like, keep in mind, I am also frostbit now, so I'm taking even more extra damage. Look at that. It's crazy. That's insane. I took off Radigan's Source Seal and Marika's Source Seal. Like, you could, you know, at level 66, you're probably okay wearing one of those. I took that off because I thought to myself, man, it's got to be insane to, you know, take that much extra damage at level 60. And, yeah, like, I go out of my way on this build to try and up my defense. I would have... This would be like the one character I eat crab meat on, or prawn meat. Yeah, no, crab meat. But I can't, because I screwed up the quest with the guy. So he won't sell me any... He won't sell me any seafood right now. And there's no way to fix that, because I'm too late in the game, and so he's not gonna fix it. So yeah, no seafood for me. You know, I'm on a seafood diet. When I see the food and I eat it, I see food, I eat it. Seafood diet. That guy got absolutely boned, am I right? Yeah, you take a bunch of extra damage. 30% is insane. Alright, categorically insane. I know you people are like, oh, Saint Riot's crazy. He's crazy. I'm not this crazy. I'm not take 30% extra damage crazy. So I've got the Ritual Shield Talisman on, which can negate like most of the damage you take on the first thing that hits you. And that's nice. And I've got the Opaline Hard tier, the one that gives you extra defense, and, you know, that's nice. But it's, you know, I still feel all of this extra damage that I'm taking. And on top of that, look at this. Oh, you thought... No. You go. You have to go first, you see. He thought I was looking at the other guy, because I was. But then I looked at him. And then I hit him. What was I saying? 30% extra damage is insane? Categorically insane? Yeah. Yeah, it is. But, you know, for science, we're doing it. And it hurts. Science can hurt sometimes. Just ask, you know, anyone who's ever had their bones fall out because of radiation or something, you know. This is, obviously, my real bones don't hurt. But, you know, it hurts taking this much extra damage. Especially, because at level 60, it feels like the quote-unquote password scaling, the downscaling, it feels like it just stops working. Like, some of these people can just do an absurd amount of damage. No, I'm still looking at you, kid. And it just feels like, you know, like if you're playing at level 30 or level 15 and you get hit by like a level 600 guy, you can tell that they have been scaled down. Like, you can tell. You can see it, you know? At level 60, it does not feel like they have been scaled down at all. It feels like they're hitting you with the full brunt of all of their 600 levels. Don't worry. I have, you know, you'll see in this video. I've got a clip of a guy who's like an absurd high level. I think he ended up being like level 400 or 500, something like that. And you'll see how much damage he does with just like little curve swords. It's outlandish, okay? And so to take 30% more damage than that, you see? That's... What are we doing? Is it nice to have the max cast speed? Oh, well, of course it is. It allows me to do the carry and cross. That's what Sir Grey Fox, YouTuber, Twitch streamer, Sir Grey Fox, he started calling Carrion Greatsword into Carrion Piercer the true combo. He started calling that the Carrion Cross, this thing. And we love that. People will see that and ask me a lot, like, oh, is it a true combo? Like, every time somebody's seeing it for the first time. And yeah, it's a true combo, but it's one of those true combos that's, like, really net dependent. Like, it works more than it doesn't. I'm playing on an Ethernet cable. If you're playing on an Ethernet cable, you'll probably have the same experience as me. It works more than it doesn't. You know, like 90% of the time it works. There are a few situations, and sometimes, like, sometimes it won't true combo against people that it, like, you don't even notice you have a, you know, it seems like you have a good connection. And then that doesn't true combo, and you're like, huh. So I don't know. But yeah, it works all the time, for the most part, except when it doesn't. So it's nice, you know. And like I was talking about before, I got sidetracked by the 30% insano extra damage. This build previously was statted around having max cast speed at level 66, which is like, it takes a lot to do that. It takes a lot to get it. Obviously, you could do the talisman and the staff, but I didn't want to do that. And so the only other way is to, like, focus a lot on, you know, dex. So stuff like Radigan's Icon, 5 extra dex. The plus 10 dex Wondrous Physic. I said Radigan's Icon, I meant Sword Seal. Plus 5 dex from Radigan's Sword Seal. Also Radigan's Icon, but plus 10 dex from the Wondrous Physic. Stuff like that. Or Millicent's Prosthesis, plus 5 dex. Things, you know, of that nature. And that all comes at the expense of doing less damage with your spells. Because now you're having less points to put into intelligence, you're having less stats, less talisman slots to put, you know, the Graven Mass icon, stuff like that. You know, so it has a price, right? And now we've been able to undo that, essentially. And so we have the plus 10 intelligence, I think, Wondrous Physic, as well as the defense Physic, like I talked about. But we also have the Graven Mass icon now, so our spells do more damage. And yeah, it's obviously noticeable. Doing more damage with the spells, especially doing more damage with that combo of Carrion Greatsword, Carrion Piercer. You know, as you've seen in the course of this video, it's like, that's 1,000 damage, easy. And at level 66, 1,000 damage is a big deal. Nobody's getting hit by 1,000 damage and then thinking like, oh, I'm fine. I'll just, I'll not, you know, back away and heal. I'll just continue to fight. No one's doing that. And what's nice about max cast speed is the Carrion Greatsword becomes a flask punish. Your opponent goes to drink their flask, Carrion Greatsword, and then guess what? Carrion Piercer, 1,000 damage. Hope you had more than 1,000, you know, health from that flask that you just drank, because I've just taken 1,000 away. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of times you'll see me sort of like lingering around, just letting people hang out. And what I'm doing is I'm like trying to get them to drink their flask so I can get that because it looks cool. You know, there's faster ways. At certain points when people aren't healing, it's like I should just attack them, but I don't want to do that. This is that level 500 guy I was telling you about. Look at all of the stuff he's soft swapping between. He's got all of this soft swapped. Like that's what level this guy is. And look at that damage. They could never nerf these weapons enough, honestly. They could nerf them again, and I would be fine with it. It's just, dude, there's nothing you can do that's going to ever, like, that's essentially the golden tracer, you know? Like, I'm never gonna touch it. Well, that's not true. I might touch it, but I will never think anything about anyone who uses this weapon. I don't care if, you know, you get the clutchest victory in the world. It's tainted. It's cheapened by the fact that you used a weapon that, you know, maybe it's not as good as it was, but it used to be as good as it was, and it's still not bad. And so, yeah, I hate these things. They could nerf them into the absolute ground, and I wouldn't be mad about it. That's what they get for being as good as they were for as long as they were. Look at how many runes I get off this guy. We have a little calculator so that you can see like what level a guy is. Because when you kill somebody, you get like 4% of the runes that they used in their last level up. And so you basically take that and then you know, multiply it and you look at what level that would make you. And we have a little robot command that does that for us on the streams. And that guy ended up being like level 500. Which is just absolutely absurd. But like you can feel it, is what I'm getting at. Look at this level 60 guy's damage versus that level 500 guy's damage. You know, at level 60, for whatever reason, it really feels like the downscaling, the password downscaling, because when these people summon, when this level 60 guy summons his level 500 friend, the game is supposed to sort of rein in the level 500 guy and make him a little weaker. And I understand that you don't want to just completely neuter him, okay? And I'm not calling for the neutering of that guy. I might be, but I wouldn't say it out loud. But, you know, these people are the guys, like that level 500 guy is probably the friend who convinced that guy to buy the game. And From Software's not going to punish that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to punish you for having your friend buy the game and you playing with your friend. So I get it. I'm not calling for them to be absolutely neutered. I'm just saying, like, there is a marked, noticeable difference in overlevels from level 30 to level 60. You know, if you've never done this, go invade at level 9 or 15 and you know, you'll know when you come across a overleveled guy, because he'll have stuff that you shouldn't have, and he'll be able to use a bunch of stuff that you shouldn't have the stats to be able to use at this level. It's pretty easy to figure out, like, hey, that guy's not the same level as everybody else. I'm level 15, the host is level 15, but this Phantom bro is, like, you know, he's got to be insanely high level. And at those levels, 9, 15, you know, up to 30, I think, you can really tell that they've been downscaled. They do damage that is like in the same realm as you know, you. And don't get me wrong, I think that a lot of it probably depends on like what type of build they're running. Some of them can still do like real damage, but for the most part, you can feel that downscaling. And then at level 60, you don't feel it anymore. It's just like every one of those level 500 guys, it's just like they're level 500 and you're level 60 and you gotta fight this level 500 guy. It's crazy. But yeah, so like level 60 is like one of those level ranges when people ask me like, hey, what's a good level to invade at? I'll tell them, you know, like I like 80 or 90. I like those. I like meta level, like 125, all the way up to like 200. I like all of that until you get to that point where you're just invading people who are at a boss, and that it happens over and over and over and over again. You invade somebody, they walk into a boss fog. You had to look at loading screens for that. You come back, you invade again, it's somebody going into a boss fog. And it's like you'll get 3 or 4 of those in a row at level 125. It gets a little better at like 170, 160, 170. It gets a little better, but it happens that way all the way up until 200. Especially with the DLC, because now you have level 200 people trying to fight Messimer or, you know, the Sunflower or whatever. My point being, people ask what's a good level to invade. I typically, like 60 is populated. It's populated at 60. But I don't know that I would call it a good level to invade, because you're going to need to bring like a really focused build. Your average player is going to really need to bring like a really focused build that is min-maxed all to shit. Because you're just going to be fighting against, you know, people who can't hack it at meta level in the arena, and so they rune art or gank at the Crab Shack with lightning weapons, and all of the stuff that the streamer they wish they were uses. And you can't afford to be playing like with a cute build at that level. So if you're level 60, like pick one stat and level that up to, you know, whatever weapon or whatever you're wanting to use. But like, don't be trying to make like a hybrid build at level 60. It's theoretically possible. It's possible to make a hybrid build at 60 with all the wondrous physics and the talismans and stuff like that. The problem is that when you make a hybrid build at 60, the builds who are just using one stat will have like just a massive advantage. And then, God forbid, they also have summoned a password summon Phantom. Like, it's just... I think level 60 invasions are like the hardest invasions in Elden Ring, honest to God, because of all of those factors. So, something to consider. My point being, I don't ever tell anybody, yeah, 60 is a good spot. I might say like it's a popular spot, but yeah, make sure your build is, you know, decent. And this build is, it's a little more decent. But 30% extra damage? Come on. Come on. It's it's so much. It reminds me of the Prisoner's Chain in Dark Souls 3. It's funny, whenever I talk about this, people who weren't there at the beginning of Dark Souls 3, I'll say like, yeah, the Prisoner's Chain was just this unusable piece of garbage because of the defense penalty that it gives you. And then people who started doing Dark Souls 3 PvP in, you know, 2019 or something, 2020, they're like, no, actually, Prisoner's Chain is really good. It is now. It didn't always used to be. That thing sucked. And I hope the same thing happens to this talisman as well. I don't expect From Software to patch Elden Ring much more. But I hope that they kind of, because like 30% is insane. Categorically insane. You could make it 15%, and I still think most people would pass on it. Like I said, you know, there's so many other ways to get max cast speed. That it just seems like it's never worth to take that much extra damage. There's another way to balance these talismans, and I wish From Software would consider it. I don't want to be taking extra damage because I'm using a talisman. Can we just have the talisman take up 2 talisman slots, maybe? instead of making me take extra damage. Like, oh, this talisman's so good that it takes 2 talisman slots. That's fair. Fine. In a heartbeat. There's, you know, I would have to make room for it, but I would wear it. Like, it's not free because I have to make room for it. I have to give up something else that I could be doing for this thing. But I just feel like, you know, I know From Software keeps track of, like, the numbers of, you know, like, how many players die to this, how many players use this, how many players summoned this guy. I know they keep track of this stuff. And I just, like, they have to look at that talisman at some point and be like, no one is using this except for one guy. It's me. And hopefully they, you know, give it a little buff. Let's get rid of 30% extra damage. Like I said, you could go to 15% extra damage, and I still think most people wouldn't use it. But more people would consider it or try it out or maybe use it, you know? Having said all of that, this has been level 66 Invasions. And we're going to do this same test at level 30, I think. We're going to have a video where I test this talisman out at level 30. Keep in mind, you don't have to really kill any bosses to get this talisman. Once you've got Moog and Radon, you're in the DLC, you can just run and go grab this talisman by talking to the guy and going and blowing on the whistle. Like, check this out. Oh, like that. Came out of nowhere. You can just go talk to the guy and get the thing. So we're going to try this at a lower level. We're going to try it at level 30. And at level 30, I think you will be surprised by, like, I'm going to keep a Source Seal on. And I'm going to take 30% extra damage. Ooh. But that's next time. Till then, later, y'all.